It's another edition of the Celtics Roundtable powered by CLNS Media. I'm Jonathan Levy. I'm joined by Matthew Ignall, Lucky Spike, and special guest and draft expert extraordinaire, Cole Zwicker. He's back once again to drop some knowledge and perhaps some beats if we're lucky about the Celtics and future prospects, the Summer League, all the stuff. But we're going to have to put all that on hold for a second at least because there is huge news throughout the NBA. I know you know what I'm talking about. Kyrie Irving has demanded a trade, or at least requested one, from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And man, oh man, we got all things to talk about here. We got possible trades to talk about. But first and foremost, we got to relate this back to our favorite team, the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are at some point going to pass the Cleveland Cavaliers, right, guys? The Celtics are young. The Cavaliers are old. This is going to happen. Will this be the year that it happens? Now that we have this new piece of information that Kyrie is likely not going to be there. Cole Zwicker, you're our special guest. We're going to start with you. Is this the year?
I don't know yet. I mean, when you look at all the Kyrie trades, we'll talk about this, but what really suits what Cleveland wants as far as I think they want to acquire an impact piece, a young, promising asset, and a really high draft pick. What trade is really going to accomplish that? When we talk about Boston specifically, I just have a hard time believing those two teams are going to deal with each other. I mean, they're the 1 and 2 in the conference. Is Cleveland really going to want to deal with Boston? I think if they get the Brooklyn pick, perhaps they'd be interested, along with we've heard Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder. Who really knows? Would Boston even do that? When we talk about Isaiah Thomas in isolation, again, we have to frame it as he has one more year in his contract, right? And then he's probably going to he's in for a big payday. We don't know if it's going to be the full max now that a lot of teams next year don't have cap room. So I think he might be able to be had at reduced cost. But still, when you have Kyrie, he has more cost certainty. But still, you come back to Cleveland, it's like, really, what is going to suit what they want? Because that's what this comes down to. Kyrie doesn't have a no trade. He has 2 more years on his contract. It's not like they have to move him. I think worst case, they just stick there. They hope that it plays out and they can get everybody back on the same page. I don't think they have any pressure to just deal him away. So right now, I'd still say Cleveland's far ahead just because they have LeBron. But yeah, eventually, especially if LeBron leaves, of course, Cleveland's going to be decimated and Boston will pass them.
I wonder if we.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we heard the Derrick Rose rumor today, right? 1 year, $2.1 million to the Cavs. I don't know if this means anything or something as far as like who the Cavs would be looking for, but they do have a point guard now. So I don't know if they might be eyeing like a wing. This maybe changes their thinking a little bit now that they have former MVP Derrick Rose.
He's still great, damn it.
I agree with Cole in that they're not going to – Celtics and the Cavs aren't going to trade just on principle. There's no way both teams are going to come out of that thinking that they're better when they're going to potentially face each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. That doesn't make any sense. But I do have some interesting – I like the Melo idea, like just because that would be hilarious to get LeBron and Melo playing together. I also like the irony of Wiggins trading back to the Cavaliers.
I like how you haven't mentioned basketball here. Just fun and irony.
I mean, that's what is basketball but entertainment? But that's probably my two. And they're getting wings, so it's like it fits your thing. They're going to get some wings, and it'd be fun for all of us to watch.
It seems to me like it's a pretty great move for the Cavs to sign even Derrick Rose because it gives them some insurance and opens up the possibilities for them, like Matthew was saying, right? They can still go after that Eric Bledsoe type point guard, but now they can absolutely go after a wing as well or another keystone type player because they have a guy who at least sort of can start at point guard. I mean, they're used to starting Kevin Love, Kyrie, LeBron, and whatever anyway, right? So now the point guard is a whatever. But it's enough. Like, you can live with Derrick Rose as your point guard, I think. But they can also still bring in a great point guard if that's the deal that they ultimately make. So I like that move from the Cavs' point of view. Maybe there's a bigger question here, though. So all of this, like the elephant in the room with this Kyrie thing is that LeBron has been whispering, or there's been whispers around LeBron taking off and shipping up to the Los Angeles area at some point, maybe about a year from now. And the question is, what kind of implications does this have for LeBron staying or leaving ultimately? Do you think with Kyrie's request becoming public and potentially getting traded, does that keep LeBron around or does that make him more likely to go ultimately?
I think it gives indications that, at least he gets an out. He personally would spin it in a way that he's like, the 25-year-old left and, now I'm just Love and Rose. LA looks nice. I live
does it
there.
Matter kind of how the year? Doesn't it matter like how this year goes? I mean, I don't know. I just the more I think about this, like the Cavs should do everything. They should just do their best to keep LeBron around. Like any sort of rebuild is going to be incredibly painful regardless. So, I mean, and it's that or being in, championship contention just by virtue of having LeBron James. I mean, they can make a deal to keep themselves in championship contention. Maybe they can even make themselves a deal to get better. I think if they got like Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder or something, they might even be better than last year. That's not going to happen, as something that we've discussed. But I imagine that's where the Cavs are going to be angling. So I don't think Celtics fans should be jumping for joy just yet. But I would say it's more likely now than, say a couple weeks ago that LeBron James winds up bolting, since the Cavs seem to be in total disarray. I don't know. What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If they move Kyrie, it depends on what they get back. Like, they have to get somebody impactful back that helps LeBron now. If they just get future assets, that's not going to appease him. I still don't get this whole Lakers talk as far as going there. I don't understand. Like, if he's driving to win, I get the business acumen, right? Like, if he goes there, he's going to have all his contacts there, like his business managers there. There's a ton of opportunities for him to grow even post-NBA. But if his goal is to win a title, I'm not sure if that's the move for him. I mean, it clouds this vision a lot with San Antonio signing Pau Gasol to that 2-year, $16 million a year deal, which was just ridiculous.
That was 3.
I mean, it is 3, but the last year's partially guaranteed. Yeah,
okay.
But like it's 2 guaranteed years at like $16 million. And like when you're the Spurs, you're looking at how this board is playing out. You have Kawhi Leonard, a top 4 player. You had cap space, a ton of it. Like, why wouldn't that be an appeasing destination to LeBron? I'm not saying he would go there for sure, but you'd at least get a meeting with him and with Popovich and with Kawhi Leonard. So that really limited the potential options for me. Like, where's he going to go? If you go west, you're going to deal with all these top-heavy teams. You better go to Kawhi's team if you're going to contend, because nobody else really has cap space that are contenders. So I don't know what he's going to do now. I mean, LA, just from a business standpoint, fine. You're probably not going to win a title for the rest of your career if that's what he wants. I guess that's suitable. But when it comes to Cleveland, yeah, I think that, they have to get somebody impactful back if they trade Kyrie. If Kyrie stays, I think they could probably work it out over time. We'll see. Kyrie seems pretty hell-bent on getting out of there. But if they don't get anybody back that helps you this year, he's definitely going to entertain leaving.
The Cavs absolutely should be trying to still win this year, right? No
Yes.
matter what. It seems crazy to have LeBron James in his age 33 season and not be trying to win, where he still is arguably the best player in the world, and if not, certainly right there with everybody else. So they have to try to do that. The problem, of course, is the Warriors they still need, like, Kevin Durant to get, framed in some sort of murder charge or something for this really to work out for them. But still, you've got to take your shot when you have LeBron. It's just so hard to have a guy like that and be in this situation. And the team has been miserable for so long until these last 3 years. I guess the earlier LeBron era was pretty good for them too. But that's been it for the Cavs pretty much since the Mark Price days, and it wasn't so hot even then. So I think they have to do something to get a present time asset, something that's useful right now. And if they can get some future stuff too, that's great. But from the Celtics point of view, it's like the waters are just sort of parting, right? Paul George leaves, Jimmy Butler leaves, Boogie Cousins moves but stays in the West. Like, no, the only good player who comes over comes to the Celtics. And now Kyrie, who's a foundational piece for the Cavs, looks like he's on the outs as well. It's kind of amazing how, like, the Celtics are going to be in the championship in the finals sooner rather than later. It may not be this season, but like two years from now, they're probably the favorite right now to be the East representative 2 seasons from now.
I think so. I mean, do we really want to use this I mean, it depends on what the Cavs are getting back, right? If they get, a King's ransom back, then, featuring plenty of veterans who fit nicely around LeBron and, cohere with where the league is going. I think it makes sense. Do we want to get into that? I mean, so
well, that's the thing is, like, the Bill Simmons, I know he has like crazy trade ideas, but like Bledsoe, he had one that was like Bledsoe and Melo are coming back to the Cavs. And it's like, okay, that's a team. Like, you're going to get better defense from Bledsoe. I know he's not as good of a spot up shooter, but like he's somewhat like decent on catch and shoots. Like, you're going to run the ball through LeBron anyways. And, Melo is, he's Melo. He's pretty good. What we've seen, like, when he's with a lot of good players, he's a good player. So that's something compelling. And that would probably be better than anything that he would get in the Western Conference other than going to the Spurs. So it's all about the deal.
Well, guys, one thing that's definitely all about the deal is the people at HelloFresh. They got the meal kit delivery service that makes cooking more fun so you can focus on the whole experience, not just the final plate. Each week, HelloFresh creates new, delicious recipes with step-by-step instructions designed to take around 30 minutes so that everyone, from novices like yourself, lucky, to seasoned home-cooked short on time can make tasty meals. HelloFresh sources the freshest ingredients measured to the exact quantities needed, so there's no food waste, and they employ 2, not 1, not 3, not even 6, 2 full-time registered dietitians on staff who review each recipe to ensure it is nutritionally balanced, and that's important. They deliver food to your doorstep in a recyclable, insulated box for free, and they are now offering light summer meals. They've even introduced breakfast options. Viewers of this show, because we love you so much, here's a promo code BEAT30. That's BEAT 30. You get $30 off your first week of HelloFresh. Support the Roundtable and try HelloFresh for free. Visit HelloFresh.com and enter the promo code BEAT30. All right, let's get back to the Roundtable. Let's get into some fake trades. Are you guys ready for fake trades? I'm ready.
More trades.
I love fake trades. Well, we batted around a little bit. We said it's basically impossible for the Celtics and the Cavs to make a deal because they're the 1 and the 2 seed, so it's unlikely. But admittedly, Isaiah Thomas and a piece going to the Cavs makes them better right away. And if they're just trying to play for next year, and the Celtics would kind of like to have a younger, more cost-controlled asset like Kyrie, I would guess. I don't think it's going to happen, but is it possible that Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and I don't know, Marcus Morris fit together and go away, and a guy like Kyrie comes back? Would we want to make that deal?
Zach Lowe reported that the Celtics did their due diligence and have just asked to remain informed about, I don't know what sort of deals the Cavs are getting. So I think there is some interest there, but I think we're right that the top 2 teams in the Cavs, the top 2 teams in the East, Cavs and the Celtics, traded it. It seems almost impossible at this point. I mean, I think that, like we said, if they're getting Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder back, they could be better. Do the Celtics really want to make the Cavs better? I don't think so. They just got a star free agent. I think that this is now probably the time for the Celtics to at least try to get over that hump. Not to give the Cavs an extra weapon there. So I don't know. But then again, Kyrie Irving did kill the Celtics. Oh, was that game 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals, scoring 21 points in the third quarter, something like that, to basically put the game away. That game was close, by the way. It looked like the Celtics might have a chance to tie it miraculously in Cleveland. But, hey, Kyrie Irving, that guy gets buckets in the playoffs. That's valuable.
Cole Zwicker, is this a fair deal, or maybe what is the fair deal here? A lot of talk around Phoenix specifically. So Eric Bledsoe would have to be part of a deal for sure. And then the thought is that there would be another young asset, and they've got a bunch of them. They've got Dragon Bender, they've got Marquise Chris. They just drafted Josh Jackson. Who's the fair piece to add to an Eric Bledsoe deal so it's a reasonable move on both sides?
Yeah, Josh Jackson makes some sense long term. I don't think he's a good short term fit next to LeBron just because he's not going to space the floor well. That's his biggest weakness offensively is his catch and shoot ability. You really have to have those catch and shoot threats around LeBron. So I'm not sure if a straight up deal between those two makes sense. At one point, I thought that you could just surround LeBron with a bunch of 3-and-D guys and he could take you basically to the finals. He might still be able to do that, but there's no way that he can beat the Warriors with that setup. He needs a second gun. That's why Kyrie's been so valuable to him in the finals, because Kyrie is one of the few offensive players who can get hot enough to really go blow for blow with the Warriors, and that's really valuable, and that's something that the Kyrie haters discount, is that guy can get ridiculously supernova hot and make a bunch of tough shots, and that's what you need to do to beat the Warriors. You have to outscore them to a certain extent. So for me, the fair deal, it would have to incorporate a third team, someone like Melo coming back, give LeBron some help. I know Melo has his deficiencies as a defensive player, but if you can get Olympic Melo playing next to LeBron and he just emphasizes scoring, quick decision making, that's the kind of player you have to have back in the deal. There's workable trades. I know the Simmons trade had Bledsoe going to the Cavs as well as Melo, maybe Ntilikina going to the Suns, and the Cavs offloading some salary and stuff like that. That would make some sense. Zach Lowe had that Milwaukee trade with Middleton and Brogdon coming back as well as a pick or something. I still don't think that'd be enough. I like that deal and I like both of those players, but I don't think that'd be enough firepower for the Cavs to beat the Warriors. Middleton's just not that level of scorer. They're both two-way guys, and it'd help a lot. If Melo got bought out or something by the Knicks, that would make a lot of sense to me, but it's still not quite enough. So the perfect deal probably doesn't exist. If Boston were to throw in that Brooklyn pick, I think that the Cavs, if they got Isaiah, if they got Jay Crowder in that Brooklyn pick, that might be too much, of course, for the Celtics because Kyrie has a player option in 2019. So you're really overpaying short term, I think, for someone who might not move the needle. But if you're Cleveland, I think that might actually get it done. You have to be really blown away by an offer from the Celtics to trade with them. Like we talked about 1 versus 2 in the conference. So that would be like the perfect trade. But that Phoenix, New York three-way might work out.
Yeah, if Danny Ainge is considering adding the Brooklyn pick to this offer that we're talking about, or really any offer for Kyrie, just let him know I'm going to take out every Chipotle in the greater Boston area. There's no way I'm going to let that happen. We're keeping that Brooklyn pick unless we get a much bigger player, a much more important player than Kyrie. Right.
More likely, that Suns deal, I think in that Milwaukee deal, Zach will talk about like 2 unprotected first rounders going.
It's like if you could get the Milwaukee plus the New York, that'd be interesting. Like if they got back Middleton and Melo, like because that would be LeBron would be the point guard, and then you would have a legitimate shooter like Middleton, and then you'd have Melo and Tristan Thompson and Love. Like that's a lot of shooters plus a 4-5, and then LeBron. That's kind of cool too.
Seems like a salary cap nightmare.
It's a really good team, though.
Right.
What about is it possible would Jabari Parker be a guy you could fit instead of Middleton? You trade Jabari and Brogdon. I don't know salary wise if that can work, but he was the 2 pick, so he makes like what $8 million a year. Maybe it's not enough, but maybe if you throw in some more salary somehow. But I wonder if the Bucks would actually prefer to give up Parker than Middleton at this point.
I think they might. There's so much injury uncertainty with Parker coming back. Who really knows? I mean, it's hard for teams to kind of take that sunk cost. I mean, they're getting a good player, obviously, but take that bite with Parker, who had so much upside. But I really like that 3-way idea. I didn't consider that. Maybe because when you look at what New York could get for Melo, like if you get Brogdon and maybe some salary cap relief and maybe a pick, like that's better than they're going to do right now. I mean, right now they're struggling to even get salary cap relief. We hear this Oklahoma City rumor of like Enes Kanter, who has an extra year compared to Melo. So it's like they're not getting very much value. So if you throw in Brogdon in that 3-way, that's really interesting because if you put both Middleton and Melo with LeBron, I think that could actually turn out to be a better squad.
What about the Jamal Murray, Gary Harris centric trade for Kyrie?
I didn't even see that. What was that?
It was like a no-brainer.
I saw.
I just think, like, if you're Denver, I think I do that. I mean, if you look at Jamal Murray, what are the chances he's as good as Kyrie Irving? Like, that's kind of the same archetype, and he's not going to be as good of a shooter or creator off the dribble. There's just no way. He doesn't have that kind of athleticism. He doesn't have the dribble moves. Gary Harris is up for a new contract, depending on what you can get him on the extension before he becomes a restricted free agent. I do think that Harris is a little bit overrated. I don't think he's the impact defender that a lot of people think he is. So, but from the Cavs perspective, I wouldn't do that just because, I mean, is Murray and Harris really helping LeBron that much this year? Probably not. So if you look towards the future and you know LeBron's leaving, that's something I would consider. You could probably get more along top those two, I would think. But I wouldn't do that if I was Cleveland.
Yeah, it was Wilson Chandler was in there as well. I don't know.
All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the Celtics Roundtable. If you enjoyed this show, and even if you didn't, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to CLNS Media if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on your podcasting app or iTunes or whatever it might be, go ahead and subscribe to the Boston Celtics news feed or whatever podcast app you might subscribe to us on. We're on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. We're welcoming 5-star reviews on iTunes at all times, including right now. I want to thank Cole Zwicker, Lucky's Pipe, Matthew Ignall. I'm Jonathan Levy, of course. We'll see you next time. That's going to be tomorrow, where we're going to continue this conversation, where we're going to delve deeper into the Summer League. We're going to pry into Cole Zwicker's incredible brain and understand how the Celtics really did in Summer League this summer. So be there for that tomorrow. We'll see you then.